You know, every single time you stream a movie, check your email, or use pretty much any app on your phone, you are plugging into this massive, invisible engine that runs the world. So in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on the two key technologies that make all of it possible: virtualization and the cloud.
So here's the central puzzle, right? We all know a computer is a physical thing, a box with wires and chips. So how on earth can just one of those boxes, sitting in some giant data center, be running a small business's website, storing a family's photos, and processing a huge bank's transactions, all at the exact same time? It really seems like it should be impossible, but this is happening every second of every day.
The answer lies in this absolutely brilliant piece of technological magic. You can think of it as a one-to-many trick, but its real name is virtualization. And honestly, this is the fundamental concept that unlocks everything else we're about to talk about.
So, what exactly is virtualization? Well, at its core, it's just really clever software that takes one super powerful physical computer and slices it up into many smaller, totally independent virtual computers. Each one of those little slices thinks it has its own processor, its own memory, its own storage, even though they're all just sharing the resources from the same big machine.
Now, the software that actually performs this magic trick, that's called a hypervisor. You can kind of think of it as a traffic cop, or maybe a building manager for that physical computer. It's the hypervisor's job to create all these separate virtual machines, we call them VMs, and make sure every single one gets the resources it needs without bumping into its neighbors.
So not all hypervisors are created equal. You've got two main types. Type 2 is the kind you might use at home. It runs on top of an operating system like Windows or Mac OS, just like any other app. But the real powerhouse, the one that runs the internet, is Type 1. It runs directly on the bare metal hardware itself. By cutting out that middleman, the operating system, it gets direct access to all the computer's power, which makes it way more efficient. This is the type that powers the cloud.
Okay, so virtualization gives us this incredible power to turn one server into many. And that specific capability is the absolute foundation for a concept we have all heard of, the cloud. To put it simply, without virtualization, the cloud as we know it it couldn't exist.
Now, this is the official textbook definition of cloud computing. But trust me, every word here really matters. On demand means you get computing power the second you ask for it. No waiting. Shared pool is where virtualization comes in. It's how you efficiently use those resources right alongside other people. And configurable means you can shape those resources to your exact needs, whether you're a tiny startup or a giant global company.
So what really defines a cloud service? I mean, it's more than just a place to store your files online. For a service to really earn that name, it has to have 5 key characteristics. So let's break them down real quick.
First up, on-demand self-service. This just means a developer can get a brand new server just by clicking a button in a web browser, anytime, day or night. You don't have to call someone, fill out a form, or wait for days for approval. It is literally instant.
Second is broad network access. It's a simple idea, but it's totally vital. It just means that whether you're on your phone, a tablet, or a laptop, if you can get on the internet, you can get to your cloud services. It makes all this computing power accessible from basically anywhere.
Okay, this next one is a real game changer: scalability and rapid elasticity. Just imagine a shopping website on Black Friday when traffic goes through the roof. The cloud can automatically add more power to handle that huge load, and then, when the rush is over, it scales right back down. It's like a digital accordion, expanding and contracting exactly when it needs to.
And then there's measured service. You know, the cloud works just like your electricity meter at home. The provider measures exactly how much computing power, storage, and network you're using, and you only pay for that specific amount. This whole pay-as-you-go idea is incredibly efficient.
All right, so we know what the cloud is, but how do you actually use it? See, it's not just one thing. A good way to think about it is like a restaurant that has a full menu of different service options, and each one is designed for a totally different need.
So this menu offers different levels of service depending on how much control you want. On one end, you have infrastructure as a service, or IaaS. This gives you the raw computing building blocks, but you're in charge of everything else on top. In the middle, there's platform as a service, or PaaS, which is great for developers who just want to focus on their code and not worry about the servers. And then there's what most of us use every day, software as a service, or SaaS. Think Gmail or Dropbox. These are complete apps where you don't have to manage anything at all.
So we know how the cloud works and what services it offers. But that leads to the next big question. Where does all this cloud infrastructure actually live, and who owns it?
First, you've got the public cloud, and honestly, the apartment building analogy is perfect. It's like you get your own secure apartment, that's your virtual machine, but you're sharing the building's plumbing, electricity, and the foundation with lots of other tenants. It's super cost-effective, and it's all managed by a landlord, like an Amazon or a Microsoft.
The exact opposite of that is the private cloud. If the public cloud is an apartment, this is like owning your own private house. All of the infrastructure is 100% dedicated to you and you alone. It gives you maximum control, maximum privacy, but it also means you're responsible for all the upkeep. And it's usually more expensive.
And finally, there's the hybrid cloud, which, just as it sounds, combines the two. It's like owning your own secure house for your really sensitive data, but also being able to use a massive, flexible public space when you need to handle a sudden burst of activity, like a huge product launch. It really does offer the best of both worlds, security and scalability.
Okay, we have covered a lot of ground here, from hypervisors to service models. So let's connect all the dots and really focus on what is probably the single most important relationship in all of modern computing.
You know, it all boils down to this. Virtualization is the engine. It's the how. It's the core technology that creates those virtual building blocks. Cloud computing is the service. That's the what. It's the business model that takes all those virtual blocks and offers them to the world as a flexible, on-demand utility, just like electricity. One simply cannot exist without the other.
And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating final thought. We have taken the most complex machine humans have ever built, the computer, and used virtualization to turn it into a simple service you can get on demand. So the question is, what's next? What other physical, tangible parts of our world are just waiting for the right technology to come along to virtualize them and turn them into a service you can summon with just the click of a button? Thanks for joining this Explain.